Today on Booner School, what I'm doing is I'm going to teach you a little something about timber, and deer. And one thing that people don't understand is that deer do not like pretty woods. I mean, they may look pretty to the human eye, having real nice timber and open woods and, just a beautiful stand, which, I get it. I mean, there's places for that. But if you own a farm or, you have a place that you're really trying to grow big deer and keep them in there, and I'm not saying you have to do this to your whole farm, but you do need to take some areas if it's full of big timber like this and open. See how on the understory there's nothing on the ground growing except May apples and stuff like that. And that's because the canopy of these big trees is flooding out anything from growing in here. And this guy's having a lot of problem with deer movement, or deer staying on his property, because he said they're just not holding up here. And my first assessment I should say, after walking the property before I started marking this, was the fact that it's just too open. And so what we're going to do is we're going to remove some of this bigger timber in here, and use it for saw timber, obviously, and veneer. But it's a good thing to do. And now we won't cut all these big trees. What I'm going to do is leave some, smaller white oak and some smaller red oak, and actually a couple bigger white oak and red oak throughout this cut. And this cut here is going to be about a 10 acre, 15 acre area that we're going to do pretty hard. And then he's got another 20 acres yet that's still going to look real nice like this, and that he can manage that just for timber. But now he's going to take this 10 to 15 acres and use it for, basically deer bedding, but also in the same sense, we're cutting the timber in a sense where the timber that does come back is going to come back in a nice manner and compete for the sun at the same time. So 30, 40 years from now, whoever inherits his farm and his family or whatever is going to have another beautiful stand of timber to be able to harvest nice straight trees out of here. The one thing about a select harvest is a lot of times the younger timber that comes back from a select harvest is kind of somewhat growing crooked for the sun, because it's looking for the holes, where the sun is coming. Select cutting is obviously the best thing to do to manage timber and, still have a pretty property and things like that. And there's places for that. There's places for clear cuts, and there's places for, making big bedding areas on your farms. So it's all depending on what your goals are. This landowner just happens to want to manage for timber and deer, and so we're kind of combining the both. But you can see how big some of this timber is. This is an actual 40-inch red oak right here, and that's a big tree. That'll produce a lot of lumber, and the landowner's gonna get a lot of money for that tree. So anyways, just kind of teaching you a little something, about deer do not like pretty woods. They like to have thick, they like to have nasty, they like to have treetops to bed in, so forth. So just a little tip from Booner School, if you're scouting properties or looking at public land or things like that, just keep in mind, in my opinion, the thicker the better. Now, I have seen too thick to where the deer don't even like it, but that nice mixture of, good brushy understory with some timber mixed in it, with a good clean edge next to open timber, seems to be one awesome spot to catch big bucks walking around and, moving through. So, and especially if you can get close to food sources with that same edge line, hence whitetail edge, we're just big on that kind of stuff. Those transition zones are great places to catch big deer. Scrape lines and, things like that are great areas, that you'll find scrape lines in those transitions on those edges, and from woods to field or clear cut to woods, things like that.